In this video of action therapy, you'll be learning about in the middle of every action is action therapy. Because every action is not created equally, there's low value action and high value action. And that's why the greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. Your knowing and doing are on different sides of the same coin. Your action therapy is between your knowing and doing. Trying to make the most of this moment is low value action, and making the most of this moment is high value action. Your action therapy is between your low value action and your high value action. And that is why the greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. Because you're either trying to make the most of this moment, low value action, or you're making the most of this moment, high value action. Because in the middle of every action is your action therapy. And the more that you use action therapy, the more you'll see that there's a pattern towards creating the reality that you need to create every day. And the pattern is action first, feelings second, what you learned third. Action first, feelings second, what you learned third. For example, start today and do this simple exercise. Do 2 push-ups right now. That's right, do 2 push-ups right now. Then continue to do 2 push-ups for 20 consecutive days, while always thinking about these 3 things as your action therapy. Action first, feelings second, what you learned third. Before the end of your 20th day of doing push-ups, you'll probably be doing more than 2 push-ups. Your motion creates your emotions. Pay attention and learn that from your action therapy that you're either trying to do 2 push-ups right now or you're doing 2 push-ups right now. 1, 2. First push-up, second push-up. 1, 2. Action first, feelings second, what you learned third. And that is why your greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. Even at the level of 1%, because what you put into this moment is what you've gotten out of it. Ordinary 1% trying to shorten your gap in between knowing and doing, or extraordinarily using your action therapy to shorten your gap in between knowing and doing. Because your action therapy is about action first, feelings second, what you learned third. As if your life depends on it, because it does, as you value growth over comfort. Write this down somewhere with pen and paper and tape it, attach it to one of the doors in your home so you look at it every day. Write this down somewhere with pen and paper. Your action therapy, action first, feelings second, what you learned third. Your greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. How do you shorten your gap between knowing and doing? What you put into this moment is what you've gotten out of it. Your most focused, concentrated way to shorten your gap in life between knowing and doing is action first, feelings second, what you learned third. This is the Betterolic way. Weak action is weak energy. Focused action is strong, focused energy, action therapy. Your winning system in action therapy is action first, feelings second, what you learned third. Directed at the greatest gap in life between knowing and doing to shorten the gap to a shorter gap in life between knowing and doing, and even a shorter gap in life between knowing and doing, to even a shorter gap in life between knowing and doing. This is your power of action therapy, used accurately for realities you're in control of happening today, even in this moment. One of your greatest superpowers is your ability to swiftly adapt to change every time you need to. And what are some other ways that you can use action therapy today, even in this present moment, to improve the quality of your life? Action first, feeling second, what you learn third as your superpower. You can even go to the point of creating a catalog of who you're choosing to be. And because a lot of us have either Android phone or iPhones, we're able to capture pictures of who we choose to be. Because the importance of seeing who we choose to be is what we look at, what we give our attention to, expands into our reality. So using your iPhone or your Android phone to capture pictures of who you would love to be in this present moment is because what we think about, we bring about. What we give our attention to expands into our reality. And through using action first, feelings second, what we learned third, we're able to see that what we keep in front of us is what we move towards. The thinking that's guiding our intelligence is much more important than how much intelligence that we have. And when we use action first, feelings second, what we learned third, we can use the pictures that we have in our mind or the pictures that we've taken on our iPhone or our Android phone, the pictures that we take as a catalog of who we choose to be this moment and the moment after that and the moment after that. and the moment after that, because it's about learning that the greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing, and seeing that it's on different sides of the same coin. Knowing is on one side of the coin and doing is on the other side of the coin. And either you're trying to shorten the gap between knowing and doing, or you are shortening the gap between knowing and doing. That is the power of action therapy. And because we become what we think about through action therapy, we're able to decide that we can create the catalog of our life and see that we have the ability to adapt to change quickly, because there's so many changes happening right now. AI is becoming more predominant in our life. And that's why it's important to look at something that's simple, something that works, action therapy, because action cures a lot of things that can only be cured through action. And that's why I gave the simple example of doing 2 push-ups for 20 days, and more than likely you'll be doing more than 2 push-ups before the end of 20 days. And that's why I gave the example of you doing 2 push-ups each day for 20 days consecutively. 20 days consecutively doing 2 push-ups, because what will end up happening is, more than likely, before the end of the 20th day, you'll be doing more than 2 push-ups. Because when you value growth over comfort, you'll be getting stronger. Because weak actions produces weak results. Strong actions produce strong energy results through action therapy. That's the power of giving action. Because we change the way we see things through action therapy, the things we are looking at differently changes through action therapy. And that's why it's important to look at things in a simple way. And that's why I use the words action therapy. 2 words, action therapy. When you first heard the word action therapy, you're probably wondering, well, what is action therapy? And that's good that you were wondering what action therapy is, because it allowed you to listen a little bit more, to hear what action therapy is. And it's action first, feelings second, what you learn third. To have a powerful philosophy in life is to see the potential that you can have if you have a powerful philosophy in life. And my powerful philosophy in life that you can adopt is, we're only guaranteed today to live with our plans for tomorrow, as we live with our plans for tomorrow. This is the better Rollick way, that we're only guaranteed today to live with our plans for tomorrow, as we live today with our plans for tomorrow. Too many people plan to use their action therapy tomorrow, but tomorrow is always in the future, whereas they're giving up their greatest superpower in the moment. Your greatest superpower is in the moment of using action therapy, because it's therapeutic to the heart, the mind, and every fiber of your being. And the more that you use action therapy, the more that you see that you're able to adapt to changes swiftly. The more that you're able to see that you can swiftly adapt to changes and shorten the gap between knowing and doing. And the more you learn through using action therapy, as often as you need to, as often as you can today, the more that you see that you can shorten the gap between knowing and doing. Because the greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. Because once you know, then all that's left is for you to do. That is why the greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. Because once you know what you need to do, all you need to do is do what you know you need to do. And once you start doing what you know you need to do, then the gap gets shorter. And as you continue to do what you know you need to do in order to have the life that you believe you need to have, you shorten the gap between knowing and doing a little bit more. And as you continue to do what you know you need to do in order to have the life, in order to create the winning life that you want to have for you and your family and the people in your circle of influence, then all you need to do is use the action therapy to shorten the gap between knowing and doing. Because action therapy is your superpower. And that's why it's important to learn how to swiftly adapt to change every day, even in this moment. Because remember that adversity reveals you to who you truly are. Adversity reveals you to who you truly are. And that's why it's important to value growth over comfort. And that's why I use the example of doing 2 push-ups for 20 days consecutively. Because 2 push-ups for 20 days consecutively is to look at your life, and it exemplifies moments when you have to push through things. Because when you're doing push-ups, you are focused on pushing through towards a reality. And 2 push-ups is easy to think about and is easy to get done. How easy is it to do 2 push-ups? Well, let's see. Let's count. 1, 2, and you're done. All right, let's count again. How easy is it to do 2 push-ups? Let's count. 1, 2, and you're done. And all you have to do is come back tomorrow and do 2 more push-ups. How easy is it? 1, 2. As you think about action therapy, action first, feelings second, what you learn third. There is power in simplicity, because simplicity is what creates momentum. And momentum happens from compounding effect. And compounding effect can happen from you doing 2 push-ups consecutively for 20 days. And if tomorrow arrives and you say, I can do 3 push-ups today, do 3 push-ups because it's doable. And if it's doable, then all you have to do is do it. As you remember that the greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing. See, there's a lot of people who are trying to shorten the gap between knowing and doing. But the ones who are using action therapy accurately are the ones who are shortening the gap between knowing and doing. Because knowing is one thing and doing is on the other end of the knowing through action therapy, because in the middle of knowing and doing is action therapy. And that is why your greatest gap in life is between knowing and doing, even at the level of 1%, because what you put into this moment is what you've gotten out of it. Your ordinary 1% trying to shorten your gap between knowing and doing will create ordinary results. Or extraordinarily using your action therapy to shorten your gap in life between knowing and doing is what creates extraordinary realities, because ordinary action therapy creates ordinary action therapy realities. Extraordinary action therapy actions creates extraordinary action realities in this moment and the moment after that. Only when action therapy is used. If you use action therapy to create ordinary 1% realities, you should expect ordinary 1% realities. But if you use extraordinary action therapy at 1%, you should expect extraordinary 1% realities, because that's how you used your action therapy, to create extraordinary 1% realities. As you combined action first, feelings second, what you learned third. As if your life depends on it, because it does. As you value growth over comfort. As you shorten the gap in your life between knowing and doing through action therapy. As you continue to shorten your gap in life between knowing and doing through action therapy. Again, and as you even shorten your gap in life between knowing and doing through action therapy that's focused, because focused action therapy creates focused realities. Distracted action therapy creates distracted realities. And that's why it's important to use action therapy and believe that it can be the difference maker in your life. Because change the way we see things through action therapy, and the things we look at differently changes through action therapy. This is the Better Relic way.